Elgato did a big update to Key Light Air, added USB-C power, a new desk clamp, and touch controls with an optional focus grid. This is Key Light Air MK.2, and I'm using it right now to light my camera with a floodlight behind me. I'm liking this look a lot. Anyways, let's get into it. Elgato did send me out Key Light Air MK.2 as part of this review. I am an Elgato partner and all the thoughts are my own, and Elgato doesn't see the content until I post it. I bought my first Elgato Key Light 5 years ago, and when I was searching, I see the price difference between the original and the Key Light Air. I wasn't a fan of the desk mount because I feel like the clamp was a lot cleaner and better for a setup. Also, the size of the light was pretty big difference. I think that Key Light Air needed a refresh, and I think Elgato delivered. Key Light Air MK.2 is a big improvement over the original Key Light Air, with 50% more brightness, 2,100 lumens versus 1,400, 60% larger panel, USB-C powered, touch controls, MagSafe compatible, 5 GHz Wi-Fi added, and an optional focus grid, which I'm using right now. First time I've ever seen that on an Elgato Key Light. More on that later. And it works with Control Center on Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. Here are the full specs. I'm not going to read them all out. Pause if you want to go through them, because I'm going to be mentioning them here and there throughout the video. My favorite addition to Key Light Air MK.2 is that it uses USB-C power to power the key light. I don't like the original power adapters with the original key lights. They take up way too much space when you plug them in, and it's just really annoying to manage a setup when you start using a lot of them. Even the Key Light Air had a power adapter kind of like this. Nice thing about Key Light Air MK.2 being USB-C powered, you can use your computer USB ports, you can use a USB power adapter, or you can use a USB power bank to power Key Light Air MK.2. The cool thing about using a MagSafe power bank, you can mount this to Key Light Air MK.2 and use the included USB-C cable, and you will have power. You don't need to run it to a computer or a outlet. It's pretty awesome. It lasts me about 1.5 to 2 hours, so I can see myself using this for like future B-roll shots. Key Light Air MK.2 does not come with a power adapter. It just comes with an included USB-C to C cable. So if you buy a Key Light Air MK.2, you have the option to get a PD30 power adapter for this launch. If you were to pick one up, I would highly recommend picking that as your add-on because it gives you all the power you need to power a Key Light Air MK.2. But honestly, if any power adapter from Amazon that can do 30 watts through USB-C, you'll be fine with that. Here's a chart that Elgato provided me that shows how much power Key Light Air needs to hit certain percentages. So if you were to hit 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, or 100%, it just shows you how much power you need. I'm going to show a bit of my own findings as well too. Switch 2 power adapter, I was able to get it at 100%. iPhone/iPad USB-C charger, I was able to get it to 80%. Also with the Ugreen power bank, I was able to get 80%. So the USB-C front port on my PC and the motherboard USB-C port on the back of my PC, I was able to get 60%. And all USB-A to USB-C ports, power adapters, I got 20%. I prefer to have it this way because you get different options how to power Key Light Air in your setup. Well, what's the most important thing when you're buying a light? Well, the brightness and temperature. And I have the brightness for each key light at 50%. I'm using 2 Key Light Airs with focus grid on each of them, which I'll be talking about shortly, and my camera on Elgato prompter. The color range is 2.9K to 7K, so the light can get really warm or cold. Key Light Air MK.2 is smaller than the key light I've used over the years, but the experience is exactly what I would expect from an Elgato key light. I've been using both of them with the optional focus grid for the whole video. Right now, I turned off my floodlight to show you how focus grid looks with just 2 focus grids with 2 Key Light Airs at 50% brightness. But what is focus grid? Well, focus grid is an optional accessory for Key Light Air MK.2. This magnetic accessory narrows the light into a beam for a sharper, more dramatic look. It's sold separately, so you would have to purchase this to add on to Key Light Air MK.2. Okay, I turned my floodlight back on. Now I'm going to take each focus grid off at one at a time. This is when I take one focus grid off. Ha 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 ha. This is when I take 2 focus grids off. Ha 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 ha. So yeah, for the rest of the video, I'm going to leave the focus grids off so you can see the difference between having focus grid on and off. So Key Light Air MK.2 added touch controls, and this is one feature I've always wanted. Press the power button at the bottom to turn it on and press and hold to turn it off. You can adjust brightness and color temperature by pressing plus or minus. Press both at the same time to toggle between brightness and color temperature. Load a save preset by pressing the preset buttons, 1 or 2 dots. And to save a preset, just hold either button for 3 seconds. It's really handy. It gives you more ways to control Key Light Air MK.2. And if you're having issues with your Wi-Fi, you're still able to control Key Light Air MK.2. But my favorite way to control Elgato Key Lights always has been through Control Center. You could use Control Center to adjust brightness, adjust temperature, and turn key lights on or off. Every Elgato key light I've used uses Wi-Fi, but only Key Light Air MK.2 and Key Light Neo you can connect via USB. For Control Center, you can download it on PC and Mac at elgato.com. For iOS, download it at the App Store, and for Android, download it at the Play Store. Adding a Key Light Air MK.2 was really fast on my iPhone, and I heard it really works great on Android too. In Control Center on iOS, once I set it up on my iPhone, it detected pretty quickly on my PC with Control Center. It took a little while on Windows 11, so if you run into issues, try your phone first, see if that helps. Just make sure you have the latest Control Center plugin from the Elgato Marketplace and that Control Center is updated. The reason why I bought an Elgato Key Light in the first place is because I can control it with Stream Deck. You can adjust the brightness or temperature, turn lights on or off with your Stream Deck. I did do a short form video how to show you using your Stream Deck with your Elgato Key Lights. It still applies to Key Light Air MK.2. It's just there's a few different steps of Key Light Air MK.2 because it has Bluetooth. So I will do an updated long form version of this video in the future. So let's talk about mounting. It comes with a desk mount with a clamp, which is pretty easy to use. I like the curve that it has because if you push your desk right against the wall, you're still able to access the key light. There are multiple 1/4 thread mounts to mount Key Light Air MK.2, but a really cool way to mount Key Light Air MK.2 is with MagSafe. Snap it on, tilt it any way you want. MagSafe's magnetic lock keeps it in place, and swapping Key Light Air MK.2 takes seconds. Just so you know, you'll need a MagSafe mount, and there's plenty of options on Amazon. So here is Elgato's full Key Light lineup now. Key Light Neo is at $69.99. Nice. Key Light Air MK.2 is at $139.99. And Key Light is at $189.99. I think with all these features packed into Key Light Air MK.2, it's the best value out of all of them. 50% brighter than the original Key Light Air, USB-C, touch controls, and MagSafe. At this price, it's one that makes the most sense for creators in my opinion. Some setups will benefit using Key Light over Key Light Air MK.2. Like in this room, I would probably benefit from Key Light more just because my background would be a little bit more brighter, but it all depends on your setup, so my use case is a little bit different. Okay, you'll notice I'm in a different shirt right here. I had to reshoot the closing, but anyways, Key Light Air MK.2 is a great middle option that makes a lot of sense. I feel like Elgato really needed Key Light Air MK.2 to have this much value and this many features because it adds a lot of value into their product line. Anyways, thanks for watching. Link is in the description for Key Light Air MK.2. I've got a review of Wave XLR Pro incoming, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, I will see you next time.